Kit Kats can read.
Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be speaking about and sharing with you some of my series that I would like to reread. I will give you the reason why when I actually speak about the books, because there's all sorts of reasons why. This is like the fifth part in loads of parts of these rereads. I've split them up for you. The first part contained my standalone paperback books to reread. Part number 2 contained my standalone hardback books to reread. Part number 3 contained my hardback series to read, and part number 4 started off my paperback series to read. So we're continuing on with this with my second and final part of rereads. There's a load of books I would like to reread, and I will share with you in the end all the books when they look all piled together, just how many books I would like to reread. I've just got so many books, but these books help me in times when I'm feeling slumpish. So if I'm feeling very, very slumpish, or I'm not really feeling the book I want to read at the moment, I would go to a book that I've read before, and that normally kickstarts my love for reading all over again. So that's a little tip for you guys. If you're feeling very slumpish, reread a book of one of your favourites, or one that you knew that you definitely enjoyed reading. So these are going to be in no particular order because they're literally in piles right next to me, so I'm literally just going to like grab them and speak about them. So the first couple of books that I've got here next to me are books 2 and 3 that are in the Princess Diaries series by Meg Cabot. To be honest, I need to reread all the books in the series, but I've just put these two here. I've got the other books that are amongst my children's books that are like somewhere in this bookshed. And so these are like the next two in the series. They're very, very short. They're by Meg Cabot as well, who is one of my favourite authors, and they're very, very fun books, and I just want to reread them, one for nostalgic reasons, and two because I don't remember too much what happened in the particular books, and it's been so long since I read them. So for many reasons really, but yeah, I just know that I loved and adored these books. This next book is Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer. This is the first book that's in the Artemis Fowl series. I read this years ago before I started BookTube, and I don't remember too much about this book, but I know that they've done something on Disney with this, and I just want to give it a reread and just remember everything about it. But I know it's about this like childhood genius, and I remember quite enjoying it, and I was listening to the audiobook at the time, and I'm sort of like listening to it as well. We used to listen to it on our journeys in the car. So yes, I want to dive into this again and see what I think about it like a fair few years on. Next of all, I've got here Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So this is told in multimedia format. I have read this physically when it first came out. I had an art copy of it, and then I listened to the audiobook last year, I think it was, or the year before, and I just want to reread it physically again because since then I've got the proper finished copy of this book. So I just want to give this book a reread and see what I think about it the third time around. Next of all, I have here Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the first book that's in this series. I've got all the other books, including the spin-off book from it. I'm determined to give it a reread. I mean, I haven't read this in years. Again, this I first read before I started BookTube. This was just one of those paranormal books that's, you know, everyone was reading at the time, and it's got like shape-shifting sort of like werewolf in it, but I remember finding it really hard to get into, but at the same time I also found it intriguing. So I just want to give it a reread and see how I feel about it like a few years down the line. Next of all, I have here Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This is the first book that's in this series. I've got like all the other books in this series as well as the spin-off series that I got a fair few years ago, and this, I remember when I first read this, I found it really hard to get into because the first movie was terrible. It was really, really bad, and it really, really put me off reading the first book. And so now that it's a few years along the line, maybe I'll think differently about it, but so many people like treasure this book series, so I just want to give it another go and see what I think about it. But if I still can't get into it, I mean, it'll be such a shame because I have all the other books in the series. I mean, I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try my best to push through it, and hopefully I will enjoy it like this second time around. This next book here is A Diamond in Drury Lane by Julia Golden. This is actually my art copy. I got this, I mean, a fair few years ago when I used to live with my mum, and I used to review books for Ottakar's before it became Waterstones here in the UK, And yeah, my mum might went in there once and was like, yeah, my daughter reads books. And then they just used to give me books to read and review, and my mum used to help edit the reviews for me because she's really good with her English sort of thing, so she used to edit my reviews. And yeah, I mean, I remember this sort of being about this girl called Cat Royale, and she sort of like kind of like hides, if I remember, in this like theatre, and that's all I can kind of remember about it. So I just want to reread it to remember everything about it. It's been so long since I read this book, and I've got the other books that are in this series as well that have absolutely gorgeous covers, and I'm hoping that I really enjoy it. Next of all, I've got The Immortal Rules and The Eternity Cure, both by Julie Kagawa. I've got the third book in this, and I have this thing where I just don't finish series. I loved these two books. I'm talking about, like, this book was fantastic. This book ended on a cliffhanger where I wanted to strangle Julie Kagawa, because I was just like, why would you do that to me? Because then the third book wasn't released, and I was like, oh. So these books are really good. They're brilliant vampire novels. They're literally about this girl, and she's like turned into this vampire, but she's given the choice where she can either remain to be a vampire and sort of learn all about it, or she can like literally just be like killed off. So she decides to go with becoming a vampire and learning all about it, and then the sequel just is sort of like a continuation on it. They are really good books. They're so brilliant, they're really dark, and they are like proper vampire books. So I just want to reread these, one, to relive the fantastic books that these are, and two, so that I can finally read and finish this trilogy. The sun has decided to be really awkward and shine like in my doorway, and I've got the pile of books right next to me, so I'm finding it very difficult. But this next book is White Hot Kiss by Jennifer Armentrout. This is the first book in the Dark Element series. I've got the sequel to this, and there's other books in this series as well. I love this book. It's a new adult series that is literally about half demons, half gargoyles. I knew there was like some sort of like half creature in this, and that's why I sort of liked it. I was like, oh, half demon, half gargoyle, that sounds like really cool. So yeah, and I love this first book. And Jennifer Armentrout, she's a queen of an adult. So yeah, I want to reread this, to re-love it, and then continue on with the series. Next of all, I've got here Unraveling by Elizabeth Norris. This is the first book. I've got the sequel to this. This is about a countdown to save the world. So there's literally a countdown. There's literally throughout the book. So every chapter starts with this little countdown. And I don't remember too much. I know that a girl is hit by a pickup truck and killed. So next minute she wakes up, and somehow this person has brought her back to life. And oh yeah, like, so it then starts like a sort of like discovering things and all that, like mystery. Yeah, it's just, it was really good. I've read it like a couple of times. I listened to the audiobook and I read it, and now I want to reread it all over again so that I can continue on with the sequel. Next of all, I've got What's Left of Me by Kat Zhang. This is the first book that's in this series, because we've since had like, I think 3 books, 2 that come after this. So this is about a girl, and she has literally 2 minds, like that share one body. It's a brilliant story about Ava and Addie who share this body, and it was so good. So I read this at the start of my booktube journey. I just want to give it a reread and continue on with this series. Next of all, here I have Angel by L.A. Weatherly. I have reread this a couple of times, and the last time I reread this, it's been like a few years since then, and I would like to give it a reread. I've got the sequel to this, so I can finally get around to the sequel, which is even bigger than this book. And then I've now got the third book as well, which I've recently hauled. So yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, I just want to reread this. I went through a bit of an Angel phase. Next of all, I've got here Blood Promise by Rochelle Mead. This is the next book that is in the Vampire Academy series for me to reread. This is the, I think, 4th book, if I like, yeah, if I'm correct. I love these books so much. So these have helped me out of book slumps before, so I'm down to this book now. I might end up rereading it soon. I just love it so much. So yeah, can't wait to give this book a reread at some point. Next of all, here I've got 2 books in this series. I've got Half-Blood and I've got Pure, both by Jennifer L. Armentrout, another series that she has written. They are in the Covenant series. There's quite a few books in this series. These are another like half thing. They are people that have godlike powers, so they're like half-bloods. So you have 2 different types. You've got sentinels who hunt down and kill the demons, or you can become servants in the homes of the Pures. So yeah, this is literally about Pures and half-bloods, and it says here relationships between Pures and half-bloods are forbidden. So yeah, I can't remember too much about these books, which is why they're on the reread list, but I remember absolutely loving them. And I've got like the 3rd book and I think like the 5th book or something like that in the series, so I just want to reread them so that I can continue on with the series. But I know that I love them, and I know that I'll love them again because it's Jennifer L. Armentrout. Next of all, here I have Anti-Goddess by Kendare Blake. This is the first book that's in this series. It's a Goddess War book number 1. Have I got the sequel to this? I'm not entirely sure, but this book is literally about Cassandra and Aiden. It's got like gods in it. I don't remember too much about it, but I just know that there were like gods in this book, and I remember it being quite good. So I don't remember more than that really. Like, I just don't remember anything that happened or the conversations and anything, so I just want to reread it and hopefully that I can love and enjoy this all over again. The same again is with Earthbound by April and Pike. I've got the sequel to this. I don't remember too much about this book, and this I know is quite similar to another book, because the girl has a plane crash and she can't remember what happened, so it's very, very similar to Unremembered in that sort of sense. So yeah, I don't remember too much about this book, so I want to reread it so that I can remember everything about it. Here I have Glow by Amy Kathleen Ryan. This is the first book that's in this series. There is a sequel to this called Spark, which I don't own, but if I reread this and really enjoy it again, then I might go hold of the sequel. If not, I'll get the sequel on as a sort of like ebook. It depends what I find that's cheaper, but this is a sci-fi story that's about Waverly and Kieran, and they believe that, I mean, they're completely in love. They are part of the first generation that are born in space. They'd never seen a stranger before, and then one day they are wrenched apart, and I just really don't remember much about this book, but I just want to give it a reread and see if I can remember things about this book, because I just don't remember things. Next of all, I have here Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi, and this is the first book that's in this series, and this is, I don't remember anything about this book, if I'm completely honest. I remember finding it very, very hard to get into. I remember questioning people who were saying like, you know, is this going to get better? So I really, really struggled to get into this book, and I pulled my way through it, and I can't remember why I raced it. I want to give this another try. It's been a fair few years since I read it. This was quite at the beginning of my journey of booktube, so yeah, I want to give it a second chance because I've got books 2 and 3 that are in this series, and I just want to read this so that I can go on to the other books in the series and see what I feel about it. And then next of all, I have Fire and Flood by Victoria Scott. So this is a book that's a bit like The Hunger Games, but you have animals in it, and so they have to do this thing that's called the Brimstone Bleed. It's a competition that leads you through a jungle and a desert, and you have animals in it, so it's kind of like Hunger Games, but you have animals as your like sidekicks. I've got the sequel to this called Sword and Stone. I just want to give that a read. I really, really enjoyed this first book, so I need to reread it because I don't remember too much about this book when I first read it, and then I can go on to reading the sequel. Next of all, I've got here Mila 2.0 by Deborah Dreiser. When I first read this, I read this as an e-arc. I think it was from NetGalley. I really enjoyed it. I flew through this book considering the size. This is a sci-fi novel that is actually about Mila, who ends up being on the run. I just remember there being a lot of like running away from things. She's 16-year-old. She knows she's in danger, and like people are literally running after, and there's something mysterious about her. That's all I can say. But I've got the sequel to this. I think there's actually like 3 books in this series. I'm not entirely sure, but I know I've got the sequel, but I think there's a book even after that. I really enjoyed this book, and I just wanted to give this a reread so that I can continue on with this series. The final book that I'm going to mention in today's video is On the Edge by Alison Van Dypen, and this is the first book that's in this series. I managed to get a bundle. This is actually an art copy, but I managed to get like a bundle of these. I think I won them actually. I read this as an e-arc, and I then, you know, I got the physical copy, which I thought was like, you know what, that gives me a chance to reread this book. I really enjoyed this book, and I remember there being like a gang in it, and it's about fighting for what's right and finding out where you belong. I really enjoyed this book. Yeah, I want to give it a reread soon so that I can read the sequel. That's the end of this part 2 of a 3-part series of my paperback books of rereads of series. Yeah, there was going to be 5, but there's just so many books that make it like a longer video, and yeah, I'm just splitting it into parts so you guys can see it all. So there's going to be like one more part of a book series that I would like to reread, so stay tuned for that. I am enjoying filming these though and sharing these with you, and it's a way of me keeping a log of these books as well. So that's it for this video. If you've read any of these books in today's video, let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on them. If there's a particular book you'd like me to read, or even buddy read with somebody, let me know down below. Let me know what book you're reading, what book you've recently purchased, and that sort of thing. Anything, just leave a comment down below. Let me know what you've been up to and that sort of thing. If you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. I post videos like all the time. All of my social media links are linked down below in the description if you'd like to follow me elsewhere. Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, all of that sort of stuff. I'm there. I'm always up for being anybody's friend. Bookish friends are awesome. But that's it for me, guys. Keep smiling, keep reading, and be happy. And most importantly, stay safe. My name is Katie, and I'll see all of you wonderful, awesome people in my next video. Bye!